Hashtag don't fuck around. I gotta get this one done. Episode 14 of Trev TV. I'm Trev. Y'all know that. Thanks for tuning in. It's good to see you. Now, I meant to do this one. If you can hear it, it's an old WCW pay-per-view playing in the background. It's Scott Steiner's music. If you can hear the sirens, I don't know if you can. Anyway, I've had this one written for about a month, maybe a month and a half. It's just, a part of me was thinking, how do I properly do this without offending anybody? Because believe it or not, the school of thought does actually offend people, if you can believe it or not. And the idea only really ever came during Christmas last year. I had a talk with somebody about both albums. And I figured it's an old debate. Yes, granted. But I'll give you my nickel on it. So again, without offending anybody who's a bigger fan of Nevermind, and without offending anybody who's a bigger fan of Utero, this is my nickel on the Nevermind and Utero debate. I'm going to say this right off the bat. I already have a biased opinion on this. My mind's been made up for a long time, but I'll only reveal it to you near the end of the video. And again, I really wish there wasn't a clause where I can't offend the Nevermind fans or the In Utero fans, but I know I will. So, have mercy on me, Satan. Let's start with Nevermind. So, as I was saying, Nevermind. Yes, this is the 20th anniversary edition. It says so right there. Right next to the awesome Sub Pop logo. Came out September 24th, 91. I was prepubescent at the time. And focus. At the time, I couldn't help but listen to mainstream radio. Because that's really all I knew. I knew I was getting dissatisfied and disfranchised with it early. Because I was hearing the same songs all day, every day, at least 4, 5, 6 times, at least. But that's the problem with Top 40. That's how they get you to buy the record, or how they got you to buy the records. Back when actually buying a record, a physical record, not a download, was a thing. Anyway, I'm getting completely off topic. The point is, I couldn't help but hear the lead single, Smells Like Teen Spirit. And I'm not going to lie, after the first time hearing it, yeah, it was something new, yeah, it was something different. It wasn't Michael Jackson, and it wasn't Tom Petty, and it wasn't Motley Crue, and it wasn't Guns N' Roses. But that's all I really took it for, was just something different. I heard the album not long after. Where I was living, the people above us did the whole Columbia House thing. I don't know if you remember, you pay like a dollar and you get so many tapes or CDs or whatever. They got themselves an extra copy of it. So like, hey, here you go. So I listened to it, and I'm not gonna lie, I dug it. But I didn't think of it much as life-changing. But it was also the first album to feature drummer extraordinaire Dave Grohl, who just had a birthday not too long ago. I think he turned 50. Does that make you feel just a little bit older? It went number 1 on the Billboard in 4 months. So on January 11th, 92 was when it went number 1. So almost 4 months after its release, it went number 1, which is pretty awesome for a sub pop band. I mean, if you look at it from track to track, there's not a bad song on there. I mean, I give Teen Spirit a lot of shit, but it's not a bad song at all. But for me, the album wasn't all Teen Spirit, and that's where I'm worried I'm going to offend people. Because to a lot of Nevermind diehards, the album is Teen Spirit, and that's it. No, there's a much more better album to it than that. I mean, yeah, sounds a little polished. It sounds a little, at times, sounds a little power pop-ish. But that's the beauty of the album. I mean, it gives you a bit of different things along the same line. So that's not a bad thing. It was recorded over 2 months between May and June of 1991 with a budget of $65,000. That's pretty impressive. You know, for $65,000 you turn around to number 1. That's not a bad thing at all. When it debuted at number 144. I wished I had written down the sales for Bleach. That way I had a comparison between album 1 and album 2, but Bleach is not part of the topic. It's just Nevermind and Utero. By November of 91, so 2 months after its release, it was gold and platinum. That, again, back when buying physical copies meant something, meant people were buying the hundreds of thousands of millions. The initial reviews from it went from 4 to 5 out of a possible 5 stars, A to A minus, with a few 9s and a few 10s and a few 4 to 5s. And they're not wrong. I mean, for my own self, I would give it an A. Not an A plus, but an A. For me, if they would have included some of the B-sides on this album. Come on, focus. There we go. Anywhere from 13 to 16. If they would have included those in the album, not so much live, like if they would have recorded it, D7, that's actually one of my favorite Nirvana songs, if you can believe that. If they would have had a recorded, not live version of D7 on the album, it would have been pretty sweet. All in all, it's not a bad record, but it's not my favorite. And I'll explain why. I forgot to mention, with Nevermind, it was produced by Butch Vig and mixed by Andy Wallace. Butch Vig has done a few of the Foo Fighters records. Andy Wallace mixes a lot of records. I mean, I guarantee you could look through your record collection, you'll have at least 2 or 3, maybe 4 or 5 records that are done by Andy Wallace. But anyway, forgot to mention that. And there's that one. In Utero. I don't have to say anything. I think you guys already know my opinion, but I'm going to say a lot about this record. Before I forget, it was produced and recorded by Steve Albini, who did a lot of the Pixies records. If you're into the Pixies, you've got some of Steve Albini's work. And he's a different kind of recorder, which makes it better, I think. It was mixed by Scott Litt. I mean, I don't know what else I could say about this. Released on September 23rd, 93. Heart-Shaped Box was your lead single. This, for me, was my life changer. And I mean, this is probably where a lot of my bias kicks in. At the time, I was actively looking for heavier things at the time. And much to my chagrin, I thought that lied with Guns N' Roses and the Spaghetti Incident. You can't win them all, right? Anyway, a buddy of mine, by that time I was listening to university radio. I was trying not to listen to a lot of mainstream radio. I was trying to listen to something that I don't hear every day, so that was university radio. I hadn't heard Heart-Shaped Box to that point. A buddy of mine at school, him and I were talking about music, and he's asking if I checked out this record and a couple other records. And I says, no, I haven't, but, I'd love to. So he recorded, one side was Le Sexoristo by White Zombie, which was pretty fucking awesome. The other side was this. And I listened to the second side so much that I burnt the tape out within a month. Debuted at number 1 on the Billboard. So you could make an argument that, yeah, it was anticipated, or yeah, it had the buzz behind it, to see if it was on par with Nevermind, and if it would be that million album deal again, where they just flew right off the shelves and everybody had to have it. I was smart. I waited. I used that recorded tape and went from there. I mean, I made a couple extra tapes for myself in the event that, I burnt out another one, because I asked to borrow the tape so I can record another one. So I recorded it a few times on a few different tapes. And by the time I was 16 when I got my first CD player. My first CD was Nevermind the Bullocks by the Sex Pistols. My second CD was in Utero. So by that time, I was well acquainted with the album. And I actually did make the turnaround and re-got Nevermind and all that fun stuff. I mean, the collection wasn't complete, but, I think I was still missing Bleach at that point. I mean, my collection's still not complete, but I've completed it many times. So I'm not ultimately worried. Ultimately, I still got the box set in its box unopened, which I'll show you if you really want to see it. But anyway, I'm going completely off topic again. I was recording 2 weeks in February '93 with a budget of $124,000. So double the budget they used to make Nevermind, they made this. No label interference during the recording, which was probably the best part for everybody involved. Because I guarantee you, the label wanted a lot of this, instead of worrying what was about this. All they cared about was this, and what it brought with it. Most of the record was recorded live, meaning it was recorded as a band. You had the guitars and the bass and the drums being played at the same time, as opposed to a track-by-track-by-track basis. Which, is never a bad thing. I mean, for some records, it's really, really good. For some records, well, maybe it's better if they just played it in parts, but whichever. But there were points where they had to do, like, retakes and whatever else. And Tourette's is a perfect example, where the drum track was recorded in the kitchen of the studio they were at, surrounded by 30 microphones, which is why Tourette's is so heavy, which is why it's probably one of my favorite tracks off the album. Initially, take two, Geffen didn't want to release the record as it stood due to fears of being unmarketable, which is where Scott Litt was called in to clean it. If this is the clean version, would we have liked the dirty version? One of life's questions. Like the $1 Million demos for the Foo Fighters. That was the All My Life demos. Spent $1 million on it and didn't release it, because apparently it sucked. Upon its release, Kmart and Walmart did not want to sell it due to this. Do you find anything offensive about this? Maybe I'm asking the wrong people. Maybe. If you are offended by this, please tell me where. I'd love to know. And for a little song, which I guarantee you is probably very offensive now. Come on, focus. Focus. Come on. Anyway, I'll try and get it. Anyway, a little song called Rape Me. Apparently that was offensive at the time. Who knew, right? But they made the changes, to satisfy Walmart. They put edited artwork in front of the original artwork to satisfy, like, Kmart, and then they changed Rape Me to Waif Me to satisfy Walmart. Damn conglomerates. Oh. But the receptions to this record, not counting my own, that's a different story for a different day. I'm not going to get into it right now. The receptions were majority 5-star and A reviews, with some B's and a 4.5 stars, whatever, yada yada yada. If you've watched my wrestling videos where I talk about the Meltzer gimmick, that's all I think of this, is just a Meltzer gimmick. Just like, oh hey, this is what I think it is, so you have to, my word is gospel, but whatever. Blah. By the time Kurt Cobain died on April 5th, 94. The album was already certified gold and platinum in many countries, not just the States. In the States, in Canada, in a lot of European countries, I would imagine. Especially places like Germany and, say, Italy or the Czech Republic or something, where, heavy music is prevalent. My own review, A+. A+, this is everything I looked for in a record at the time. It didn't have to have, all these B-sides on it to be a good record. From 13, even 17, 13 to 17. I mean, you could find I Hate Myself and Wanna Die on Beavis and Butthead. Moist Vagina, Marigold are B-sides for Heart-Shaped Box and Pennyroyal Tea, I believe. Gallons of Rubbing Alcohol was on the non-US copies, like the imports. And that was the third time I bought in Utero, was when I saw the import. But you don't have to take my word on it. It's an amazing record. So says me, so says I. That's just my opinion. I cannot say enough good things about this at all. But again, that's just my nickel on which I think is better. Ultimately, yeah, of course I was going to say In Utero. And it's not because I look down on Nevermind so heavily as I do. It's just, for me, even if you did a track-by-track listing, in my own opinion anyway, I even wrote that down. And I tried to think of this as objectively and as fairly as possible. Now you got, if you're going 1 through 12, which we'll do that right now, Teen Spirit, To Serve the Servants, your own matter of opinion, really. I know a lot of people will pick Teen Spirit, but Serve the Servants wasn't a bad opener. I mean, it wasn't a lead single, but it wasn't a bad opener. In Bloom and Scentless Apprentice, track number 2 on both. You can make the argument for either one. Like, for me, it's Scentless Apprentice, just because it's heavier than In Bloom. In Bloom is a fun song to play. It's a fun song to jam along to. Scentless Apprentice, though, it's my meat and potatoes, if you want to call it that. Track 3 on both, Come As You Are, Heart-Shaped Box. I have to go with Heart-Shaped Box. It was the song that ultimately said, yeah, Trev, you're going to like this band. For the record, I got into them in 93. I got into and this has been a bad habit of mine. I get into bands before the lead singer dies. Happened with Nirvana. Happened with Drowning Pool when Dave Williams died. But anyways, I have to go with Heart-Shaped Box. It got me into the band. That's always going to be my go-to. Song 4, Breed and Rape Me. I am actually going to go with Breed on this one. It's fast, it's fun, it's hyper. It's a generally good tune. I'm not going to lie. Rape Me is not a bad song, but between the two, I'll definitely take Breed. Lithium or Francis Farmer for song number 5. I have to go with Lithium. I mean, that was at my wedding. And that was a song when I was gigging, that was a song I used to open up with. And if I played it good, we were going to have a good show. If I played it bad, we were going to have a bad show. I only ever played it bad once, and that was my last show. Oh, I got paid more in bottles thrown at me than I actually got paid. That's how bad it was. Song number 6, Polly and Dumb. I'm going with Dumb, just because there's a lot more instrumentation to it. Not to say that just a solo acoustic is a bad thing, but if you're going to fill a song, put some instruments in it. It's the best thing to do. Song number 7, Territorial Pissings and Very Ape. That's a toss-up. That's a toss-up. One's very fast, very punk. One's kind of punkish, but very crunchy, if you want to call it that. Song number 8, Drain You and Milk It. I have to go with Milk It. It's heavier by miles. And not to say that Drain You is a bad song, it's not. I like playing it a lot of the time, to be honest. But for me, Milk It is the way to go. It's your perfect grunge song. You go slow, heavy, slow, heavy, slow, heavy. That, for anybody who didn't grow up with grunge, that was your generic grunge song. Lounge Act or Pennyroyal Tea? I have to go with Pennyroyal Tea. It's a great song. Stay Away or Radio Friendly Unit Shifter? For me, I go with Stay Away. I tap my feet a lot to it. A lot. I think I know the drum pattern by heart now. But, it's an amazing tune. On a Plane or Tourette's? Obviously, I already said Tourette's. It's my favorite song off this album. Probably my favorite song by them, period. I'd have to actually explore all the songs again just to say which is my favorite. But and then you go Something in the Way or All Apologies. That's a toss-up. I really couldn't pick one or the other. If I was going to pick any, though, it would probably be All Apologies, just to be on the safe side. So as promised, I'm going to show you the box set. Show you some other things first. That is set to the time that I heard that he'd passed away, and has never been worn. But here's the box set. That was from my awesome wife, and it has never been opened. Never, not ever. That's just a keychain. But that's the box set from my awesome wife. I love her very much for it. So that's it for episode 14 of Trev TV. I'm sorry this took so long. No, I'm not. Who am I kidding? I can't lie to you. I can lie to me, but I can't lie to you. I think what I meant is I'm sorry it took me so long to actually do it. I know it doesn't solve the argument. It's just my nickel. And I know there'll be people who like one over the other. But I figured I'd give my stance on it, even if it is unasked for, or even if it is too late, or whatever the case might be. But anyway, if you like this video, feel free to give it a thumbs up. If you want to subscribe on your way out, you can do that. There's a subscribe button over there. You can check out some of my other videos, because I got 62 of them. So it's worth checking them out. Feel free to find me on Facebook at Trev's TV. Feel free to find me on Instagram at rockstartrev TV. Next video. I know I've got lots of ideas written down. I just don't know which one I'm going to do next. We'll see. I mean, whatever comes up, comes up. Whatever I feel like filming, I'll film. We'll go from there. So in the meantime, and in between time, be on the lookout for more videos from Trev. Later.